She smelled like the kind of mistake I'd make twice. It was barely 9 a.m., and I was already sitting in the quiet corner of her bookstore cafe, pretending to read the same paragraph for the fourth time. The place wasn't crowded. It never was that early. Just two elderly women near the window, and me. The one who came in every Tuesday, Thursday, and, lately, Saturdays too. She was behind the counter, sleeves pushed up, hair clipped back like she didn't care what anyone thought, but I'd caught her adjusting that clip 3 times in the last 10 minutes. She moved with this stillness, like everything inside her was held in place by invisible threads that could snap if someone said the wrong thing. She didn't look up much. Never did. But this time she did. Our eyes met. Not for long. A second, maybe less. But it was enough to make the space between us feel loaded, like the silence in a car just after the engine dies. She walked over slowly, wiping her hands on a dish towel that had probably seen better days. "You always order the same thing," she said, placing the mug down a little too gently. "You don't get tired of it?" I shook my head, smiling. "I could say the same to you. Same playlist. Same book in your bag." I nodded toward the counter. "4th time I've seen it." She blinked, not quite surprised, but not unaffected either. "You notice a lot." "Only the interesting things." She almost smiled. Almost. For a moment, neither of us said anything. Her fingers lingered on the rim of the coffee mug, not touching mine, but close enough to feel the heat through ceramic. She didn't pull away right away. "I'm older than you," she said suddenly. Not bitter, not dramatic, just factual, like she needed it said out loud before something else could happen. I didn't answer at first. Just looked at her, really looked. The faint line between her brows. The smudge of lipstick at the edge of her mouth she hadn't noticed yet. The perfume, his perfume, that I had once complimented offhand weeks ago. She was wearing it today. "I know," I finally said. "You still wore the scent I said I liked." She didn't deny it, but she didn't admit it either. "Coincidence," she murmured, almost to herself. "No, it's not." I leaned back, letting the words stretch in the air between us. "But it's okay. You can lie if you want. I do too sometimes." She exhaled softly, like that tired kind of laugh that doesn't make it to the mouth. Then she took the mug back without a word, turned, and walked toward the espresso machine. I should have stayed quiet. Should have let it be just another Thursday. But something about her walking away like that, like it didn't matter, pulled something loose in me. "I don't care that you're older," I said, louder this time. "I care that you won't even look at me when I mean it." Her back stiffened, just slightly. Her hands hovered over the machine, but didn't move. For once, she didn't have something clever or careful to say. Then she turned around slowly, and she looked at me, really looked. No smile, no mask. Just as her mouth parted to speak, the bell above the door rang. She glanced past me, and the way her face changed, just a flicker, told me everything. It was a man, mid-50s maybe. Too confident, too familiar. He walked past me without a glance and slid behind the counter like he belonged there. She didn't flinch, but her hands tensed around the towel she hadn't realized she was still holding. "Didn't know you opened this early now," he said. Her smile didn't reach her eyes. "I don't. You just have a key you never returned." Oh, so that was him. The ex. He wasn't her husband anymore. That much I'd figured out from how she spoke about the past. Always in fragments. Always in the past tense. But he still had keys. Still came in like the place hadn't stopped being his. I looked down at my coffee, suddenly unsure if I should still be sitting there. He left after a few minutes, mumbling something about coming back for some books. She didn't say goodbye, just stood there, staring at the empty space where he'd been, like he'd taken more air with him than he deserved. I waited until she sat down across from me, slowly, like she'd aged 5 years in the span of 10 minutes. Her shoulders were lower now. Softer, maybe. Or just tired. "I wasn't always this reserved," she said, staring at the steam rising from her untouched tea. He liked it when I smiled a lot. Said it made me look easier to talk to. I swallowed. "So, you stopped smiling?" "No," she looked up. "I just stopped pretending." A beat passed. The cafe was too quiet. save for the soft hum of the old fridge. Somewhere outside, a siren wailed and faded into distance. I dated someone older once, I offered. She used to say I made her feel seen. That's why she left. She blinked. That makes no sense. It does if you're not used to it. She didn't respond. But something flickered across her face, something that looked dangerously close to understanding. I should have left it there, let the silence settle, but my brain kept turning over one truth I hadn't been able to name until now. This wasn't just a passing thing. I didn't just want her attention. I wanted her to choose me. Over memory, over comfort, over the voice in her head telling her this couldn't be real. There's something here, I said quietly. Between us. You feel it too. Her fingers brushed the rim of her cup, slow and distracted. She didn't meet my gaze. I feel, she started, then stopped. I feel like it would be easier if you were anyone else. I nodded. I understood. I was younger. I wasn't supposed to notice the way her eyes lingered on my hands when I fixed the lamp last week, or how her breath caught when our fingers touched reaching for the same book. But I did. And just then, her hand moved. Not much. Just an inch across the table, her pinky brushing mine. She didn't look at me, but she didn't move it away either. We didn't talk about the pinky touch. She never mentioned it, and I didn't push. But I came back the next morning anyway. Earlier this time. She looked startled when she saw me. Hair still wet, cafe still closed, keys dangling in her hand. You're early, she said. I couldn't sleep. A pause. Then she unlocked the door without answering. No invitation, no refusal. Inside, the light stayed off. She moved in shadows, too quiet. Her perfume lingered, the same one I told her I liked. The same one her ex wore. I stood there, unsure, watching her plug in the espresso machine. The hum broke the silence between us, but didn't ease it. I think about kissing you, I said suddenly, before my courage could rot in my throat. All the time. Her shoulders didn't move, but her fingers tightened around the counter. You shouldn't, she whispered. I'm not good at this. You're not bad at it either. She finally turned, and in that half-darkness, her eyes looked tired and terrified and alive all at once. I'm not supposed to want this, she said. You're too young. She shook her head. Too possible. That's when the door creaked open, and her daughter walked in. Not a little girl, a woman in her 20s, just like me, holding 2 takeaway cups and a phone still glowing in her palm. Mom, she blinked at me. Oh, you're the guy who keeps fixing her lamp. Her voice was casual, but the timing was surgical. Yeah, I said, forcing a smile, and drinking too much of her coffee. The woman, her daughter, tilted her head slightly, as if seeing something unspoken. She handed over 1 cup and lingered, eyes flicking between us. She never lets anyone in before 10, she said, mostly to me. Then to her mother, I'll be back after class. And she left. The silence that followed was louder than any argument. She knows, I said. She suspects, she corrected. I stepped closer, not enough to touch, just enough to make her breath hitch. I can walk away if you tell me to, I said. But I need to hear you say it. Her lips parted. Her eyes dropped to my mouth. Just once. But the words never came. Instead, she reached past me for the second coffee cup. Her hand grazed my chest. Just a brush. But my heart jumped like we'd collided. I never put cinnamon in mine, she murmured. It wasn't a confession. It wasn't even an apology. But it was the softest yes I'd ever heard. She wasn't returning my messages. 3 days. Nothing. I kept telling myself she was just busy. The cafe, her daughter, her ex always popping in with some excuse to linger. But deep down I knew. I'd gotten too close. Said too much. She had pulled back. And now I was sitting in my car outside the cafe after closing hours, engine off, lights dim, just waiting. Pathetic, maybe. But I wasn't ready to let it die in silence. The windows were fogged. 1 dim bulb glowed behind the curtains. She was still inside. I knocked once. A pause. Then the door opened. She didn't look surprised. Just tired. The kind of tired that goes bone deep. I knew you'd come, she said. I stepped in without speaking. The air smelled like espresso and the perfume again. Always that perfume. I gave you space, I said. You didn't want it. I needed it, she replied. The silence between us wasn't empty. It pulsed. Because of your daughter? I asked. Her eyes flashed. Because of me. Because I keep letting this go too far. It has gone too far. She turned away, pacing behind the counter. You don't understand. You still think this is sweet. That we're the exception. I came around the counter. Don't put words in my mouth. You're 26, she snapped. I know how old I am. I know how this looks. But don't stand there and act like you haven't thought about me every single night. Her breath caught. Her hand tightened on the edge of the counter. That's not the point. It's exactly the point. I stepped closer. She didn't move. You think I don't feel what this is? I said, voice lower now. That I can't tell when someone's pretending not to care? Her throat moved, swallowing words she didn't want to say. I see the way you breathe differently when I walk in. I whispered. The way you always fix your hair when you think I'm not looking. You wear that damn scent every time I'm here. It was his first. But now it's mine. That did it. Her gaze shot to mine, hot and sharp. You don't get to rewrite history, she said, stepping back. You don't get to come in here and claim what's not yours just because you feel something new. I followed her. Then tell me it's not real. She opened her mouth. Closed it. 1 second passed. 2. Then, she turned. And finally, she broke. I think about kissing you in the back room, she said, breath shaking. I think about what your hands would feel like on my skin. I think about what my daughter would say if she knew. I think about how stupid this is. How wrong. And I still want it. Her chest rose and fell, fast now. I took 1 step forward. We were inches apart. I'm not leaving, I said. She didn't answer. She didn't need to. Her hand reached for the light switch behind her, and everything went black. The lights didn't come back on. Not that night. We didn't kiss. Not yet. She lit a candle instead, practical, quiet, and placed it between us like a boundary neither of us had the strength to cross. Not fully. We didn't touch. But we didn't move away either. There was too much between us now to pretend it hadn't happened. I left just before midnight. Her daughter's car was parked a block away. I didn't see her in it until my headlights hit the windshield. She didn't wave, didn't follow, just watched. The next day, I walked into the cafe like nothing had changed. But everything had. Her daughter was sitting at the counter. She looked up as I entered, smiled like someone who already knew the ending of a book I hadn't finished reading. You left your charger here the other night, she said, sliding it across the counter like it was nothing. I froze. I didn't know I left it, I replied, careful. She nodded. I came by to grab a sweater and saw it. Didn't mean to eavesdrop. She did. Her eyes met mine, steady, sharp. Same eyes as her mother. Less history. More edge. You care about her? She asked. The question shouldn't have hit like it did. Yes. She's been through hell, you know. She leaned forward. You can't just want her. You have to stay. And not everyone does. Before I could respond, her mother came out from the back room, eyes widening just slightly at the sight of us. She knew something had happened, knew we'd spoken, but she didn't ask. She just said, I need a break. Can you cover the front? To her daughter, like I wasn't there. I followed her out the back door. She didn't speak until we were both behind the building, beside the trash bins, beneath a sky that looked too clear for how heavy the air felt. She knows, I said. I figured, she whispered. She saw us. Heard some of it. Probably more than she's saying. Her hands trembled slightly as she tucked her hair behind her ear. She doesn't trust Easy. Not after her father. Not after watching me become someone else for him. You're not someone else now. No, her voice cracked. I'm someone worse. I stepped closer, reached out, but she pulled back. I can't hurt her, she said. Not for this. No matter what it feels like. I wanted to argue. To grab her hand and say we're not hurting her. That what we had was rare, real, worth the mess. But before I could speak, she said something I hadn't expected. I'm closing the cafe. Silence. What? I decided last night. I called the landlord this morning. I need to let it go. I stared at her. You're running. She didn't deny it. Instead, she looked me dead in the eye and said, I was starting to hope again. That's always when I ruin things. Then she walked past me and went back inside. I didn't text her. Not after she said she was closing the cafe. Not after she walked away from me like I hadn't just stood there asking her to stay. And yet, on the last day, I showed up. No coffee. No customers. Just a scattering of half-packed boxes and dust where books used to be. She was there, kneeling beside a crate of old paperbacks, wrapping them like they were glass. She looked up, already bracing. I didn't think you'd come. I wasn't sure I should, I said. But then I realized, if I don't, it'll never feel finished. She didn't stand, just kept folding tape across cardboard. I sat on the floor across from her. I thought about what you said, I began. About ruining things when you start to hope. She flinched. Just barely. I get it now, I said. Because I've been walking around all week wondering if it was something I did. Or didn't do. If maybe I was just another young guy who got too close. You weren't. That landed like a soft blow. Her eyes were glassy now, unfocused. I was afraid, she said quietly, of wanting something that could be taken away again. And worse, of wanting it too much. We sat in silence. Only the rustling of paper between us. Then she reached into the box, pulled out a worn paperback, slid it toward me. I was going to donate this, she said, not meeting my gaze. But I dog-eared a page once. Thought you might want to see it. I opened it. The page was folded near the end, a line underlined twice in pencil. She had tried not to need him, and failed, with quiet dignity. I looked up. Her face had softened, still guarded, but something behind it had dropped its shield. I don't know how to do this, she whispered. Not with rules. Not without ruining something. I nodded. Then let's ruin it together, I said. Her eyes flicked to mine, surprised, scared, and something else, wanting. But what if I mess it up? She asked. What if I hurt you? I smiled. Then I'll hurt. But at least it'll be mine. She stood, suddenly, too fast. Walked to the window. Stared out like the street might offer her a different ending. I need time, she said, voice trembling. Not to disappear. Just to try. Without running. Without pretending I don't feel what I feel. I stood too. Closed the space between us slowly. I'm not asking for promises, I said. Just honesty. Even when it's hard. She turned. And for once, didn't pull away when I touched her hand. I don't know what happens next, she whispered. Neither do I. But we stood there, her hand in mine, her head slightly tilted like she might kiss me this time. And for the first time since we met, she didn't look away. It took her 3 weeks to call. Not text, call. Her name lit up my screen while I was walking home in the rain, hoodie soaked, headphones in. I stopped under a streetlight like the world had frozen mid-step. She didn't say hello when I picked up. Just breathed into the line like maybe she hadn't expected me to answer. Then, quietly, the cafe's gone. I know. I kept one thing, she added, voice almost a whisper. The table by the window. The one where I first sat. Where she first looked at me like I wasn't just another customer. Where everything began. I want to see you, she said finally. Not I miss you. Not I made a mistake. Just the truth. Honest. Unpolished. Real. We met at a different place this time. Neutral ground. A quiet little wine bar neither of us had been to. No past lingering in the walls. She looked different. Not younger. Not polished. Just lighter. Like she'd let go of something heavy and was still learning how to walk without it. We talked. About nothing at first. Movies, the smell of new books, her daughter moving in with a roommate. I listened. She let herself ramble. It was easy again, and that scared us both. At one point, I reached for my glass and accidentally brushed her hand. She didn't flinch. I used to think you showing up was a mistake, she said, not looking at me. Now I think maybe it was the first thing that made sense in a long time. I didn't say anything. I just let her keep going. I was scared of what it meant to be wanted again. To want someone who actually looked at me and saw me, not who I used to be. Not what I could give. Just me. Her voice cracked, just barely. I want to try, she said. But only if we can do it slow. Messy. With space to be scared. I nodded. I've got time. She smiled, finally. A real one. And right there, under dim lights and soft music, we weren't young and older. We weren't the messy past and the uncertain future. We were just two people trying again. This time on purpose. Later that night, when I walked her to her car, she turned to face me before getting in. By the way, she said, eyes dancing, I wore a different perfume tonight. I stepped closer. You didn't have to, I said. I know, she whispered. But this one's just for me. I leaned in. Not for a kiss. Just to breathe her in. And smile. Did you enjoy the story? What kind of stories would you like to hear next?